We have a couple of major updates in the case involving musician David and the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Today there was a status conference. We're going to go over some of what went down in that conference, and also yesterday the medical examiner's report with the death investigation summary for Celeste was released. So we're going to break both down. As always, I am a certified law nerd, bona fide non-attorney. This is not legal advice, just me sharing what I've researched and read. Let's begin. Because of how the hearing was calendared, I think a lot of people expected the preliminary hearing to happen today, but that's not exactly what went down. Instead, today's appearance functioned more like a status conference, meaning the court was addressing timing, readiness, discovery, and where the case currently stands before a full evidentiary preliminary hearing begins. Now, I'm currently following Tiffany Blacknell Law here on TikTok. She's a criminal defense attorney out of California, and she explained something that was new to me, the concept of the 3 of 10. What that refers to is the timeline after arraignment. She explained that once someone is arraigned, the state generally has 10 court days to bring the case to preliminary hearing unless time is waived. So the arraignment day, which was Monday, would be considered 0 out of 10. The next court day becomes 1 out of 10, then 2 out of 10, and then today is 3 out of 10. So in other words, this case is currently moving within that 10 court day window. One of the biggest issues discussed today was discovery. Prosecutors told the court there are more than 40 terabytes of evidence connected to this case. To put that in perspective, 40 terabytes could hold roughly 8,000 to 10,000 full high-definition movies, depending on file size. And that reportedly includes material from phones, computers, tablets, cloud accounts, and other digital sources. The court was told that only about 30% of that material has been turned over to the defense so far. That is an enormous amount of evidence. And in any criminal case, the defense has the right to review the evidence the prosecution may rely on. One of the most serious allegations raised during the hearing was prosecutors stating that a phone belonging to David contained what they described as a significant amount of child pornography. The court also heard that forensic experts would be reviewing digital evidence. That is obviously a major development and something people will be watching closely as this progresses. Another important detail, as previously mentioned, is that investigators reportedly used 3 investigative grand juries during the course of this case. Those were described as tools to help compel testimony and gather evidence during the investigation, rather than grand juries used to return an indictment. So that tells you how extensive and layered this investigation has been so far. And last night, the medical examiner's death investigation summary was released, and we've received the report. It's 26 pages long. I'm sharing the image. I'm apologizing for the graphic nature, but I do think it's very important to understand the extent of the injuries and the mutilation that occurred to Celeste's body. The newly released report lists the official cause of death as multiple penetrating injuries caused by sharp objects and the manner of death as homicide. Now, the report identifies 2 major injuries. One injury to the right side of the abdomen and involved damage to the liver. Another injury was to the left chest area, involving the space between the ribs and nearby rib damage. So the medical examiner's body diagram, which is what I'm showing now, those markings are showing injuries to critical areas of the torso where major organs are located. The report also notes that Celeste was found in an advanced state of decomposition. One of her eyes was missing. The other had significant decomp. She has a partially skeletonized skull, as well as lacerations all over her body. Her ring and pinky finger on her left hand were absent. They were mutilated and they were not present with her remains. The right hand, surprisingly, which has a finger with a tattoo that says "shh," I believe that we've seen pictures of this when she was alive. That was intact, but she was obviously dismembered. Both of her arms were severed, as well as below the hip and then below the knee. Her legs were severed as well. And then there were abrasions on the side of her right arm, as well as wounds to her back. And because I know that this rumor has been circulating heavy online, I have read the entire released medical examiner report, and there is no mention of Celeste being pregnant. So I just wanted to clarify that. So what happens next? It appears that there is another status conference scheduled for April 29th, and then Friday, May 1st, is the preliminary hearing. That is where the prosecutors are there to present enough evidence to determine whether there is probable cause to continue pushing the case forward. As always, I will continue to monitor the case, and I'll bring you updates as I get them. I'll catch you in the next one.